Hello again. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to re-examine the narcissist's love bomb because it needs re-examining. And this is something that has occurred to me afresh with new experiences and new understandings, new discussions, because most of us did or do look back on the narcissist love bomb stage, which is the first stage when they're buttering you up and getting their hooks into you and getting you entangled. And we have a very, I think, and actually a very marred understanding of what was going on there. I think we do. So, how is it normally described? That wonderful experience you had at the very beginning for probably what usually amounts to about 3 to 6 months. That's the first thing I want to knock down here. People who get on many of these channels and or anywhere, and they tell others, "Well, the narcissist kept their mask up for like 2 years. It was like 3 years until I saw what was going on. It was forever." Guys, that's wrong. That's 100% incorrect. If you think that you were with a narcissist and you didn't see their true colors for 2, 3+ years in, you're sadly mistaken. One of two things happened. One is you did see their true colors and you absolutely ignored everything negative you were seeing. We all sweep red flags under the rug when we don't know what narcissism is. But if you think you got 2 or 3 years in, or some long, long period of time, and before the mask slipped and you saw them for who they were, it's because you really swept everything. You were probably, and not making fun of anyone, you were probably so unbelievably naive about everything in the world and all human behavior, or you didn't want to see the negatives so badly that you missed everything. And believe me, you missed a lot if that's what you think. Because these narcissists, guys, they are not capable of keeping it up for that long. It's too difficult. The mask is an onerous burden. It tires them out to be good, to try to be good, to try to satisfy you, to be kind and seemingly caring and empathetic. That's back-breaking labor for them. And they're incapable of keeping it up for years. You got 3 to 6 months. Unless maybe they want something so badly, they might be able to fake it. And even then, I'm going to say the only way they can fake it longer than 3 to 6 months is if you probably aren't really seeing them that regularly. Maybe it's a long distance relationship, or maybe you both have work schedules or whatever schedule they have, and you don't get to really see them that frequently because there's just no way. So that's the first thing I want to say. But other misconceptions. We think that it was this ooey gooey, lovey dovey. They were just good as gold, sweet as syrup and honey, so affectionate, so warm and kind, and they just heaped it on and made us feel so good about ourselves. And they told us everything we wanted to hear, and they were everything that we wanted them to be. And there's some truth to that, and I'm going to get there. But this is the way it's typically described. The love bomb was perfect. It was flawless. There were no red flags. There was nothing wrong with it. They were good as gold, roses and daisies, and walking down the yellow brick road together. That's what it's made to sound like. Some of you might think that's really what it was. If it was like that, you ignored red flags. It wasn't very long. Anyway, it can vary. I mean, it can be this way or seemingly this way for some people. But I think when you look at it in retrospect, it really wasn't that great. So, the first thing I want to say is I promise you this. I alluded to this a minute ago. If you look back on the love bomb stage and you carefully observe it now, retroactively, in retrospect, with what you know, because you didn't know it then, and that's fair. Let yourself be free. You didn't know the things, you didn't know the red flags, you didn't know you were dealing with this kind of evil person. Now that you do, go back and reevaluate that love bomb stage. Tell me what you see. What was it really like? Because I guarantee you missed about 1,000 red flags, as did I. Not just missed them, but swept other ones under the rug. You saw things that you didn't want to see in that person and you excused it away. Let me tell you some of the things they did during this famous love bomb stage. I'll bet they did them to you and you didn't think of it or notice it or swept it under the rug. Ghosting and silent treatment. There is no way on earth, and I know this from dealing with people, even people who aren't far down the narcissistic line, even people who necessarily aren't narcissists. If you are building building something, you're in the talking and dating phase and stuff, and most people on this earth today, and it is toxic, and it's a game, and they call it testing, but it's a game. They will pull back and disappear. You're like, this is really starting to get. Where'd they go? Where are they? Very common, extremely common, way more common than not today in society. I guarantee you the narcissist did this. I guarantee you they ghosted you. When you were building something, when it was going really well, even if it was just for hours, where you're like, what happened? They left me on red and it's been like 6 hours or overnight. But usually it's longer than that. Guarantee you got ghosted. You probably actually got ghosted for longer than several hours. It was probably a frequent occurrence if you really think about it. Because they do that to get control. And if you know who these people are and you can work it, they'll tell you that sometimes. I like to keep people on edge. I like to keep them wondering. It gives me a little bit of control. It gives me some control, some power. They'll say that. I've heard it with my own 2 ears. I've heard it. They'll also just give you silent treatment, where they just aren't giving you hardly anything, or they're gray rocking you, sort of. They're just not giving you much in response. Maybe you're normally getting really good dialogues with texts, really information rich, and then all of a sudden, for periods of time, you just get little things. I don't know. That's cool. Okay. They did that stuff all throughout the relationship, especially in the devow, but they also did it some in the early stages. I guarantee it. Yes, I'm sure they wrote you a tome. Oftentimes, they gave you lots of information, or they called you a lot, or they sent you voice audio messages a lot, and it was like boom, 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 boom at times. But I also guarantee there were times where they went quiet, or they ghosted, or they gray rocked you. Guaranteed that they did it. Other things they did in the love bomb, they triangulated you. Think back, think hard, they did. Because they brought up exes probably more than they ought to, probably an uncomfortable amount. Or they brought up other people in some other capacity. Like you gave them compliments and they said, well, the nicest compliment I ever got was from this person that I went on 2 dates with when we went and did this and this and that. And the person told me I was so funny and that's triangulation. That's triangulation. I guarantee they did stuff like that. They might have gone in the love bomb to a bridal shower and had different people show up. And they might have texted you and said, I had a really good time and I met a great guy. And you're like, what? We're supposed to be dating and you met a great guy? And then they'll say, well, it was her fiance. But that's triangulation. Because they did it to get a response. They wanted to see what you would do if they brought someone else into the mix. I guarantee they did this to you in the love bomb. Great and grand and glorious as it was, they did it to you. Other things. You got some devow in the love bomb. You got some devaluation, some early devaluation in the love bomb stage. I promise you did. Think hard. You got little cutting jabs, little comments. Maybe you have a time that you typically go to bed during the week. And maybe by their standards, it's early. Of course, by their standards, anything is early because they are almost always night owls. They might even tell you sleep is boring. It's boring to sleep. I don't like it. Why? Why is that? Anyone who doesn't like to sleep and likes to be up all night, likes to do that, you need to be very hesitant of. Because what are they doing all night long? Why are they staying up? What are they doing? What are they filling their time with? But if you have a regular bedtime, so to speak, a fairly reasonable time that you like to go to bed because you work and you're busy and you got to get up early, they'll cut on that. Oh, you've got a child's bedtime. Is it Brian's bedtime? They'll say stuff like that. That's cutting critical. That's devaluation. It's passive aggressive, but that's the way they do things. They're extremely passive aggressive. It's little slights, it's little cuts, and you got some of that love bomb. They they might they might say things like degrading your manhood. The female covert narcissist loves to degrade your manhood. They might, you might have a running joke and you're talking and you're starting to date, and maybe they sent you a picture of, I don't know, a screen on their car, and the song "What a Man" was on, and they might send you the screenshot and send it to you to make you feel like they're telling you you're what a man, you're special. And then you might make some joke later on about, but I'm a what a man, and they might say, I doubt you ever were, and you're like, what? Where did that come from? That's the stuff you get in the love bomb. That's the little cuts, the little slights. They set you up for it. You can tell I've got some personal experience with this. But you got those comments, and so they're going to degrade your manhood. And that's going to get worse and worse, gentlemen, throughout the course of that relationship. If you are with a lady, talking to the guys, that in any way degrades your manhood, get out. Run away. If a woman doesn't respect you, and if a guy doesn't respect you, ladies, get out, run for your life, get out of Dodge, it's done. Because if they don't respect you, they can never truly appreciate you, they can never love you, it's never going to happen. And oftentimes they'll even tell you that, especially the female covert narcissist. They will tell you that they don't respect men, that they want to obtain control, that they think men need to be brought down a couple pegs. They'll just say that stuff. And that can happen in the love bomb even. Other things. They will tell you oftentimes exactly who they are. Meaning they will let it slip or not let it slip. They might say it intentionally. They might tell you that there's darkness in them. They might tell you they like dark nail polish. It's dark like their soul. They might say that. And you're like, well, you can't be serious. You don't really mean that. And they might say, well, I have some darkness in me. And what do you do? What's your response? They did this intentionally, oftentimes, because they want to know, will you take me at my word? Will you believe what I'm telling you? Or will you brush it away or try to explain it away? Will you get back to me and say, well, you don't really mean that about yourself? I mean, you're a nice person, because we want to see that in them. So these are the things that show up early on in that famous love bomb stage. So that's the number one. That's the number one thing I want to say is it came with poor treatment. It wasn't all roses and daisies. It wasn't all wonderful, grand, great, spectacular, beautiful. It wasn't that if you think back long enough. Number two thing I want to say, the love bomb can present itself very differently than what we think. See, we tend to view the love bomb as a mostly sexual thing, as mostly romantic sexual attention. But let me tell you something. If you were with the narcissist and their primary thing was sex bombing or anything that way, they did that to you because they know that's what you were looking for and that's what would work on you. They knew that. That's why they spent so much time doing it. And I'm not trying to come down hard on anyone because we're all a little bit susceptible to this, especially men. Let's be honest, especially men. We have a sexual desire that you have to, through the Lord, you have to get a hold on. You have to tame. But it's there. And they'll play on that. And if you got highly sex bombed really early on, you jumped right into bed, you jumped right into the hard stuff with the person, They did that, and that was their primary way of love bombing you because they knew that's what you wanted, because it worked. If you went in with higher standards and better boundaries and more scruples, principles, and you're like, no, I'm not going down that path with you. We just met. Well, I'm not doing that. Then guess what they did? They shifted to something else because they saw that didn't work on you. So if you got sex bombed to death early on, a little bit shame on you, and you need to fix that because that meant that that's what you wanted to see out of the person. They gave you exactly what? The love bomb, guys, is mirroring. The love bomb is a form of mirroring. They're going to give you what they know works on you. They're going to tailor make that thing, whatever it is. So what might happen? Let's say, because I think they do, this is their default, especially for the female covert. It's the default, but for maybe all of them a little bit. So I'm going to adjust my screen here. I feel like it's fallen. So that's the default. They started out testing you. Maybe they started to talk suggestively, quickly. Maybe they sent you not scandalous pictures, but some kind of suggestive pictures. See what you do. See how you respond. Maybe they did build you up a little bit. Maybe they did call you a what a man. You're not just an average guy. And they started talking about little things, cuddling under blankets and, um, you know, just different things. I'm not going to go into details. You know what I'm saying. And they pushed those boundaries. And if you did come in not being open to just being sex bombed because you weren't that way, then they would recognize that. You put up boundaries and said, I'm not really down for that. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for a hookup. I'm not looking to go over. Then what would they do? And this proves my point. They will start to transition the way that they love bomb you. Maybe they're uncovering, okay, this person's pretty much into their religion. They're into their faith. So I'm going to clean my act up a little bit. Maybe I'm a chronic cusser. I'm going to tell them that I'm a chronic cusser, but then I'm really trying to clean that up. And I won't use vulgar language around them. I'm going to look cleaner than I would have. I'm going to appear cleaner. They'll do that because they know that's what you're looking for. The same way that if you got duped by totally, purely sexual stuff, they knew that's what you were looking for. If that didn't work, they moved on to whatever it is that worked for you. You have more boundaries and more morals than that. They're going to transition to what does work for you. See how that is? So maybe you're a family man or a family woman and you care about your kids and you've got pictures of you and your kids on social media and you shared maybe some of that with them or you shared pictures with them. You're going to start getting pictures of them with their kids. Maybe they're taking care of their children when they're sick. Mother, father of the year, right? Look how into my kids I am. I don't miss any of their events. I take care of them when they're sick. Look at me with the kids. That's love bombing. It's still love bombing. They're mirroring to you what you want to see out of them. Do you understand that? It doesn't have to be all sexual stuff by any stretch. They'll only use the sexual stuff specifically if that's what works on you. If you're more into your family, they're going to use their family. They may make themselves into religious people. They're turning over a new leaf. They're going to get it right this time. They don't like the way they've lived and they're trying it new. They're interested in God. Some might take that route. Some narcissists will just tell you, no, I don't believe in God. My faith's gone, whatever. But then they'll still mirror other things. Your interest, like I said, in hobbies. They'll mirror your interest in whatever it is you're into. It's very treacherous to deal with these people, guys. And I'm going to tell you this. This is why, even when you know who they are, even for someone like me who knows what a narcissist is very thoroughly, it's still difficult to pick up on it sometimes because they're very masterful. Because when you're seeing someone share pictures of their children when they're sick and they're taking care of their kids, and that's what they're sending you on a Saturday night, you're like, This person's home on a Saturday night taking care of their kids. That's hard to look past. That's what you wanted to see, a kind, loving, caring, empathetic person. That's way more deceptive than someone who's sending you sexualized pictures. But they probably tried that first. They probably tried it, and then they moved on. So, guys, there are so many things here. Um, what you got to understand is the narcissist tailors the love bomb to your specifications. This is what makes it hard. Can't emphasize that enough. We have to throw this idea out. Two things we got to throw out. One is the idea that the love bomb was so amazing and stellar and spectacular and ooey gooey and gumdrops and there was nothing wrong with it, man, and no flaws, and it was just perfection for 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. No, it wasn't. Look back, think hard. Devaluation showed up, gaslighting showed up, triangulation probably showed up, silent treatment, ghosting, other strange things, bad feelings, little cuts, little jabs. Those things showed up early on. They did. If you're honest and you look back now, you realize that they did. So stop thinking that it was really all roses and daisies, because it actually wasn't. Get that out of your mind, that you were getting back to this person who was so good to you, because it wasn't that good. And you probably never felt right. I guarantee you didn't. I didn't. You always knew there was something off, because they do these weird little things even early on, especially bringing other people into the mix in weird ways. Also, throw out the idea that they kept their mask up for years on end, or a year and a half, two. No, they didn't. They did not. You just didn't know what they were doing. You just didn't see it, or you ignored it. Or the person really isn't a narcissist, because the narcissist can't keep it up for that long. They cannot do it. So throw those two things out. But also, most importantly, understand this. The love bomb is not even what it's characterized to be, because it's not always sexual in nature. It's not always just them building you up with flattery and ooey gooey. Some of that probably happened. And that's probably what they're going to lead with, especially the female to the male, because they know men in general are driven sexually. That's probably what they led with. But I guarantee you, if that didn't work on you and you put up boundaries and you're like, I don't really go that way. That's not really what I'm about. I'm looking for long-term, committed, relationship, loving, caring person. Then guess what they became? That. Suddenly they were that. If you were very family-oriented, suddenly they were very family-oriented. This is why we talk about how the narcissist mirrors you. And the mirroring, guys, can really be strange, because early on, they can present themselves as someone that's abrasive, or you're a little bit appalled by, kind of. But as it goes on, you're like, oh, they're warming up to me. They didn't start out mirroring me. It was kind of far from that. They were very different from me. And then they start to warm up, and then the mirroring comes in subtle ways. But you're not expecting it, because they didn't start that way right out of the gate. They had to size you up. They had to figure out what you were about. So remember, I'll even bet you this, and I'm going to close this. I'll bet you when you met the narcissist, I mean, I'm talking very early on, they didn't actually mirror you. You drop comments if this is true, because I'm just curious. They probably appeared, at least originally, first few discussions, maybe a date or two, as someone you're like, I'm not sure if we're really that compatible. I'm not really sure based on what you're saying. But they got to know you. And then as it progressed, if you swept them under the rug and you progressed, I'll bet you then you're like, this person's starting to warm up to me. Okay, I can actually see a future with this person. Maybe we have more in common than I thought. And before you know it, you have a way more in common than you thought, right? Because they sized you up and they're love bombing you with the things that work on you specifically. So, guys, we have to reevaluate and re-examine what this phase really was, and know that it wasn't that great. Know that there were red flags. Know that the person was always fake from day one, and also understand that it probably looked different depending on who you were. They tailor made the love bomb to you. They did. So, guys, I hope you found this interesting. Drop comments below. I'd like to hear your experiences. What way did they love bomb you? How successful was it? Any insights you have, guys, I really appreciate it. So, I'll close this one for now. Come at you with another one soon, but until then, God bless.